From the day we received our child to the echo results, my husband worked twice as hard, doing everything he could for our family. From the time our child was diagnosed on his first birthday, I never imagined that 9 months later, I would be left alone in life. The doctor said he needed to undergo surgery as soon as possible, because the longer we waited, the more dangerous it would become for our baby's life. But before that, he had to undergo cardiac catheterization, and it was very difficult for us to afford the professional fee of the doctor who would perform the procedure. We felt like we were already living in the hospital because of his recurring fever, cough, diarrhea, and many other illnesses caused by his weak immune system. Until one night, I woke up to the unusually loud sound of my husband's snoring. He was struggling through a nightmare. At first, I thought he was just coughing, but when my hearing became clearer, I realized the sound was different. I immediately got up and tried to wake him, but no matter how hard I tried, he wouldn't respond. My movements even woke our 2 children, but my husband never did. Even in the darkness of the night, I ran out of the house. I went to my aunt's house, which was quite far from ours, but no one was there. It was Sunday and Holy Week, so she was at church. I ran back home, and then went to my other aunt's house across from us. They were there with my female cousin and her husband. I begged them to help me bring my husband to the hospital, and they immediately went with me to our house. They brought my husband to the hospital, which was still quite far away. He was already unconscious. One of my uncles went with him because I couldn't come along. It was still dark, and my 2 children had no one else to stay with them. My 2 children quietly watched everything unfold, unaware that they could not yet fully understand what was about to happen to their father. About an hour later, my cousin's husband came back and told me, "Come with me. The doctor is asking for you." He didn't tell me that my husband had already passed away. He just said that the doctors were still attending to him. My children and I went with him, and he took us to the hospital. When we arrived at the hospital, I immediately asked the doctor how my husband was. I thought he had recovered, but the doctor asked, "Are you his wife?" I said, "Yes, doctor." And he said, "He's gone. He's outside by the side." I couldn't utter a word. I still had my children with me. What am I going to do now, with no money at all? I approached him and held his body. I could still feel warmth, but his feet had already started to cool. For 5 days at his wake, my child fell ill. Even though their father was still lying in the coffin, we couldn't find any peace. We had to bring my child to the hospital, taking turns caring for him until their father was finally laid to rest.